Hi, my name is Zach, and in this video, I'm going to show you how to do a little bit more of a unique situation. So, I like to order fresh bread from the bakery every week, and whenever I order the bread, you have to then go pick it up, and they do not have like an online system. I just manually call it in, and then I go and pick it up. So, what I've done is I have created a task in TickTick that says one, to order the bread. And then whenever I order the bread and I check it, I have a workflow automation that is going to look for that completed task, and then it's going to create a new task for me to actually go pick up the bread automatically without me having to manually create it or even remember to create it. So that way, I don't forget to go pick up the bread that I ordered, and the bakery could be, out of a loaf of bread, or at worst case, or like in my situation, I wouldn't have the bread at all. Now, the reason why I'm showing you this is because it shows kind of the personal side of what you can do with workflow automation, that it's not just a business tool. It is something that can actually help you in just your everyday life. And the other reason is that this can actually be used for business. So even though I'm using this workflow to go pick up bread, you can also use this for like tracking, client follow-ups. You could have one that says, hey, have a meeting with Acme Co, for example, and then when you check that box, it creates a new task for you to follow up with them, maybe a week later, maybe the next day, however you want to set that up. Or it could even be used for tracking like different milestones. So you could have like, oh, we're starting or complete the design phase, and then whenever you check that box of like a project, like you're completing the design phase of a project, you check it. Then you could have a new task automatically created where it says, okay, now we're going to start the actual development phase. So there's a lot of different things that you can use this for. You feel free to modify it as you need, and feel free to get a little creative with it. But again, in today's scenario, we're going to be ordering bread and creating a task to pick up that bread the next day. So without further ado, let's go ahead and take a look at this scenario in TickTick. Now, if you watch my other video where I basically go through almost the same exact scenario or workflow here, but in Zapier, you'll notice there that I use TickTick. And the reason for that is that TickTick is my normal to-do list app that I use. But in Make, they don't really have a great solution here for whenever a task is completed. So if I just click on add a module here, search TickTick, you'll see it does exist, and there are many different actions that we can do here, even complete a task, but there isn't one for when a task is completed. There is a make an API call option here, and there is an endpoint that we can use in TickTick's API to pull in tasks that are associated with the project. However, while I was testing this endpoint, it was not reliably capturing completed tasks. So sometimes they would come through, but the vast majority of the time, it would not come through. It would only show you uncompleted tasks. There seemed to be like a very small window for when a completed task would actually show up in that endpoint. And I did find a solution that you could use for TickTick, but it requires a lot more steps to make it. It would actually require two different scenarios to be made inside of Make, and it just had a lot more potential points to where it could fail, because basically you're using a data store, capturing the task ID, and then you're coming back later on and retrieving that data store, and there's tons of opportunities for it to get out of sync. And just overall, it is not a really great solution. Sorry. With that being said, I highly recommend, if you're using TickTick, to check out my video on Zapier, do it there. But if you like Todoist, which is, I would say, more popular than TickTick, you could check this out here. This would be a great solution, and Make is great for this as well. And again, this is not an issue with Make. It's just a limitation with how TickTick's app works on Make compared to how their app works on Zapier. And to my knowledge, Make did not create the TickTick app. That is created solely by TickTick. So again, it's not really an issue with Make. It's just a difference in how the apps work on these two different platforms. So without a further ado, let's go ahead and take a look at how this works. And actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete this module so you can kind of see the setup from the get-go. And what I'm going to do is click on the plus sign and then click on Todoist, and we're going to select New Event. Now I already have a webhook created, but we're going to click Add, and we're going to choose my account here. And I'm just going to go ahead and name that 2, or add a 2 to the end. And I want this to only trigger whenever a task is completed. And the group is tasks, and that's correct. So we now have that selected. And now we have a filter here that is going to check from here. And actually, I need to go ahead and re-add this just because we removed our previous module, added a new module in. So even though it's the same exact module and action from before, this one is number 4, where the previous one was number 1. So it has a different ID associated with it. So we went ahead and updated that mapping. But what it's going to do is it's going to check if the task name, or in Todoist lingo, they call it content in this situation. You're going to check if the name of the task is order bread. And it's set to be case insensitive. So that way, if it's all lowercase or a mix of upper and lowercase, it will still filter appropriately. All right. And then once that is done, we have a create task step here. And what it's going to do is it's going to create a new task called pick up bread. And again, this is in the content section. And then we have this description here. That's for Babette's Bakery, and this is just a bakery that's in Colorado. It's a little bit further outside the Denver metro area, but we have a Google Maps link here. So it's going to have the address, and it's going to show you what the actual address is, but then also you can click it, so then it goes to the Google Map as well. So if, for example, you're on your phone, you're going over to the bakery and you need directions, you could tap on that inside the Todoist app and then be navigated to Google Maps, and then ultimately navigated to the bakery. And then also we have this phone section here, which is going to give you the phone number that you'll be able to see, and you'll also be able to click it and it will call the bakery as well. Again, same situation. If you're on your phone, have the Todoist app open, you can call the bakery if you needed to make a change, maybe add some additional items to the order, or whatever else the case may be. And then we have it set for the project to go to the inbox. And then we also, for the labels, I went ahead and set it to add errands. And for the date and time for the due date, we have a series of functions here. It's starting off with a format date function, which you can find over here by clicking the calendar icon. And it's right down here. And then what this is basically doing is that if we start over here kind of from the innermost and then go out, so we're going to grab the current time of when this scenario is running, and then we're going to use the add days function, which is also here. All the functions that you see here, the set minute, set hour, add days, they are all here in the same section. But what we're going to do is we're first grabbing the current time, And then we're going to add 1 day. And then we're going to set the hour to 1 o'clock. This is in 24-hour format. And then 30 minutes. And then at the end here with the format date, we're going to put it into a year, month, day, and then hour and minute format. So what this is ultimately doing as a whole is that it is setting the due date to 1 day into the future. So it's going to set it for tomorrow, because I normally would pick up the bread the next day at 1:30 p.m. And you can see down here we have the time zone set to America/Denver, which is my time zone. And I also had the priority set to high. So now I also have this turned on. And the great thing here is that this is also a instant webhook is what's being used. Zapier, they call them instant triggers, but this is a webhook. So it's going to automatically run as soon as a new task, or not really a new task, but a task is completed inside a Todoist. So if we go over here and let me just create a task that's called order bread. So I have this one created now. It's in my inbox, as you can see here. And now if I just check that to complete it, it's going to take just a brief moment, but you see it's really fast. You don't have to wait 5 minutes like in the Zapier example using TickTick, which uses a polling trigger instead of a webhook. But we can see that we have the errands tag right there, Babette's Bakery, the address, phone number. And so we have everything here. And then also the priority that we set it to as well, P2. And that is it. So with that said, I would like to thank you for watching this video. If you liked it, go ahead and hit that like button. If you didn't, hit the dislike button. If you have any feedback for me, this is like doing these videos, all kind of new, go ahead and leave it in the comments below. Maybe I know the lighting is kind of weird right now. I'll improve that in the future, but, let me know if there's other automations that you're looking for that you'd like for me to cover. Drop that in the comment box as well. Yeah, and I hope you enjoyed this video and have a great rest of your day. If you want to see me do almost the same thing, but in Zapier instead of Make, and also using TickTick instead of Todoist, go ahead and check out the video I made on that. I have it linked either somewhere around here or in the description down below.